Hey everybody, today we're going to learn about constraint layout. So I have Android Studio opened up here. I'm going to select basic activity and next, and we'll call this one image view. We'll call it just image view is good. Make sure you select Kotlin and use Android X artifacts and hit finish. And this should open up the project. And again, I'm going to close some of these pop-ups that come up, and I'm going to go back and clear the old. That's my old Android Studio project. So wait a couple of seconds while this Gradle builds. Depending upon how fast your computer is, it could take a minute or two. So just wait for it to run. It runs through all that stuff. And we could tell it says 2 processes still running. So we can go ahead and, yeah, it's still running. Just give it a second longer. And today we're going to build a simple image. We're going to take this image of first responders and we're going to put it inside of the app. So something that most apps usually deal with images. So you're probably going to want to do this at some point. So here it is, it's opened, and I'm going to go ahead and run it here just to make sure we have it. I'm going to select use same selection for future launches, and I have an emulator here. We've covered this in a previous tutorial. You can find that on my YouTube channel. I'm going to hit OK, and then just wait a couple of seconds for this to open up. And if this is the first time you've done it, it may take a minute or two, but this emulator was already open, so it should be pretty quick. So just give it a couple of seconds longer, and this should show up here. I like to run it as often as possible because that way you know if you made an error or not. So a lot of times I'll use Git and make a snapshot every like 15 minutes so I can save stuff. So here we go. Here's the app. It's basic, but it's exactly what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and hit delete, and that'll get rid of it. Then I'm going to go inside of my drawables folder, and I want to go into Explorer or something like that on Windows or Mac. I'm going to come here and I'm going to copy that. And now it's important that this file name not include any spaces. It can include letters of the alphabet, numbers, or underscores. So go ahead and just copy that. I'll get rid of that, and I'll go into drawables, and I'm going to paste it in there, and it says yes. I'll go ahead and just do it in the drawables folder. Hit OK, hit OK. And now we have our image inside of Android Studio. So I want to put that image inside of the middle of this screen here. So right now there's just hello world, but I want to put it actually near the top of this screen. So I'm going to go ahead and over on the left side we have this palette open up, and I'm going to grab an image view and I'm just going to drag it. That work? My computer is messed up. Give me a second. Let's see, is it working? Gonna go ahead and drag in, here we go. So I'm gonna drag in an image view, and we can go ahead and select our project, and we'll go ahead and do first responders there because that's what we named it. I'm gonna hit OK, and now here's our image. So I'm just gonna put it right there, and I'm gonna save the project, and I'm gonna run it again, and let's just see what happens here. So just give it a second while this opens up. And here it is. So there it is. You'll notice that it's not positioned right. That's because this is constraint layout, and we haven't actually set our constraints yet. So I'm going to just place it in the middle somewhere. Then you see these little round circles. I'm going to click and drag, let go, click, drag, let go of the mouse, and then click, drag, let go of the mouse, and then there it is. So you'll notice that this kind of puts it up in the top center. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to run it one more time, and let's just see where it is on the screen. Now that we have constraints, it should pretty much match up there. And you'll notice I'm always doing this from inside of our content main, but there's also another mode we can use. There's also the mode of text. So if I come down to the bottom here and click on text, this is our image view. So you could just as easily have typed all of that out, or what you can do is go to design and just click and drag in there. So if I want a new image, I could drag one in, or I could go to text mode and I could just copy all of that code and put it in again. Now some of this stuff might not make sense, but some of it might make sense. Like we have an ID there, we have a width and a height, and we have some margins. Margin is kind of the spacing around it, so you'll notice it doesn't go all the way up to the top. That's because there's a margin top here. So what I can do is I can go to design, I can select the image, and I think there's a way to set margins here. So I can set it to 0. I can set all of the margins to 0 if I wanted to. 0, 0, 0, and if I were to save it and run it again, it should be near the top of the screen. And it is. So that's exactly what we wanted. Now say we want to make this image be full width. Well, how can we do that? So this can be done in various ways. The way we're going to do it right now is using constraint layout. So I'm going to go ahead and select the image, and I'm going to click on the little on this horizontal bar. I'm going to click it, and it's kind of like toggles. Like if you keep clicking on it, it rotates to different modes. So there are 3 different modes. I'm going to go ahead and use the mode that looks like that. So here we go. Now you see it extends all the way to the bottom, or all the way to the left and all the way to the right. So if I were to save this and run it, you'll notice that it doesn't take up all of the width. So that's because of if we go back into text, we can see we have a width of 0 dp, which is what we want. Then we have a height of 212 dp. So if we go back to design, what we can do is we can select that, and there should be a crop type or something like that. I don't usually use this editor, I gotta admit. I forget what it's called. Let me just look through really quick. So we're gonna want to do, I don't usually use this. I usually use the text mode, but let's see if I can find it really quick. There should be like, forget exactly what it's called. I don't see it here. Scale type, there we go. So normally what I do is I come into text and I do scale type equals, and then we can do center crop. So now if we were to go back to design mode, you'll notice that if we look for scale type, it says center crop. So I could have just easily selected it from up here. So we can do center inside, but let's do center crop. That makes the image use up all of the space that's available. So you notice it goes all the way to the left and all the way to the right. Now you'll notice it cuts some of it off. So if I were to select that, you'll notice that center, but it'll crop it if it needs to. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and run it one more time in the emulator. And this should be the finished image. So there's our image. So that's how to place an image view inside of Android Studio using constraint layout and XML. I'll see you in the next video.